Hey everybody, this is Jen Davis. Can I have somebody comment and let me know if you guys are here? Keeps trying to kick me out of my own promotional webinar. Oh, thank you, Scott. Thank you, Susan. I see the comments. I appreciate that. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jen Davis. I am the lead buyer specialist for Holt Homes Group out of Springfield, Missouri. And we are going to chat today about building a buyer business within a business. So we're going to just jump right in. If we've got questions at the end, we will answer those. And here we go. So just a little bit about myself for those of you that don't know me. Again, my name is Jen Davis. I am based out of Springfield, Missouri. I have been the lead buyer specialist on the Dan Holt team for the last 6 years. As of January 1, I actually became our director of sales. And so I am here to help each one of you. Oh, James, it's your hometown. Yay. Great to see that. So I am here to kind of change your mindset around being a buyer's agent, or if you're a mega agent, change your mindset around having a buyer's agent. What does this look like? When I joined the team, here's information on the program. So the launch is actually June 3rd. The length of it is 5 weeks, and we'll come back to this screen here in just a little bit. But just a little bit about me. I joined our team in 2013. When I joined the team, it was the first time that I had really ever been recruited. So I'm seeing that the sound is muffled or maybe staticky. So I'm going to try and adjust the microphone around a little bit. So when I was hired, it was the first time that I had ever sat down with someone that was trying to help me build a business within a business. So when Dan was recruiting me, he sat down and kind of lined out this business plan for me for the first year. And I had never really done that before. I was always kind of the lead receiver on other teams in the past, or just kind of handled the business as it came my way. And so when I was hired, Dan and I met several times, and it was the first time that someone sat down with me and took the time to help me draw out a business plan and to show me that a buyer's agent didn't have to be a less than role, that it could be an empire builder role within the organization. And so that first year, the goal for me was to close 50 transactions, and I ended up at 49 that year. And the way that we did it is we built out a systematic business plan of how many contacts did I have to have, how many homes did I have to show, how many contracts did I have to write. I began developing a business within the business. So I was tracking all of my numbers so that I could make this sustainable business model something that I could do year after year, and make sure that I could also train it so that we could bring other people into our organization, and that they would be able to do the same thing. So the second year in the business, what we were trying to do is establish that we could begin these different levers of leverage. So these different levels of leverage that would carry us through to do massive buy side numbers. So we began by adding administrative support. So I'll talk a lot about in the class building out the buy side the same way you would build out a listing side within the MREA model. And so that second year that I was on the team, our goal was for me to increase in transaction count, and at the same time start getting some control of my schedule back. So what it looked like is that that next year in the business, my goal was 65. I ended up closing 72 units. And the leverage I had at that time was one full-time assistant and one part-time assistant. Now, that was actually team leverage. That was not someone that reported just directly to me. It was somebody that I was able to utilize that was already part of our team. And what we started doing is we started trying to build a system around the buy side so that it was more of a business approach, less reactive. So we had the administrative assistants scheduling showings. They were building out this system for client care so that it became very clear that as we were building this, our clients were building into the or were buying into the systems that we were providing to them. The next year in the business, I actually wanted to grow again, and we looked at what does this look like? We feel like we're hitting a little bit of a ceiling. I'm feeling a little bit chaotic again. And typically when that happens, when you start to feel chaotic, you either need to add people or you need to add systems. And when we looked at the MREA model, it didn't appear that production was really our next hire. And so what we looked at was, okay, let's add help with lead generation. At this point, I am fully in showings, I am fully in contract negotiations, and I'm still generating our leads and managing our pipeline. What would it look like if I had someone that was able to focus on those numbers so that we could get to a place where we were taking seasonality out of the business on the buy side? So instead of having a massive, huge month where we were pending, 10 or 12 homes and then it dropping off to 5 or 6 the next month, what would it look like if we could make this a consistent business that we could bring people into? So we added lead generation on the buy side. I had help with sign calls. I had help with internet leads. At the same time, Dan actually met with me. He's the owner of our company, met with me and said, hey, what I'd like to do is, or I'd like you to do is hire a coach. I have coached you to the point of being beyond what I've been able to do myself on the buy side. We need some outside help. So at that same point, I did hire a MAPS coach, and the MAPS coach was really able to shine a flashlight in all aspects of my business so that we could make little tweaks that would make a huge impact. So what we were trying to do was really bring in a way to sustain and build this massive buy-side business. And so the next piece of leverage came with lead generation and a MAPS coach, and we were able to jump from the 72 closed units in 2014 to 2015, we closed 110 on the buy side. And the leverage I had at that point, again, was I had admin help and I had help with lead generation. What ended up happening is at the end of that year, I realized that we were at another ceiling. I was enjoying where I was at in life. I was, for the first time, I had a ton of control over my schedule because of my MAPS coach. I was able to see that, okay, I'm only working 2 nights a week. I'm only working 1 day of the weekend, and I'm closing 110 units, and life is good. What happened though is I became the ceiling to the opportunity for our lead generation department. My schedule was so established that she was not able to really add any additional appointments to my calendar. Well, I didn't want to slide backwards. I didn't want to go backwards in production. I didn't want to go backwards in quality of life. So that was when we introduced the showing agent model. I had a lot of input from my coach. I had a lot of input from Dan. I had a lot of input from Dan's coach. And we looked at this next piece of leverage, and it was scary. This is the point where you're going to start leveraging the relationship. And so we added our first showing agent in January. Her name's Kathleen. She is actually still with our company today. And we added the second one in June. And what happened was we thought, okay, we're going to have now 3 people in production, myself, 2 showing agents. Let's make a goal, a really big goal of 160 closed units. Well, what happened is on the buy side, we ended up actually closing 182. And the reason we were able to do that is because we very much focused on every person being in their top 20% activities. So the showing agents were in theirs, the lead generators were in their top 20%, and we had this amazing admin staff that was able to build out these systems so that it could be a duplicatable system. And so then in 2017, we looked at it and we said, okay, now we've got all of our players in place, right? We've got our 2 showing agents, we've got great admin. I need a little bit of help on the and a little extra help on the admin side. Let's make a goal of 200, and for the leverage pieces of it, let's just add an executive assistant. We're also going to improve our client communications, our relationships, and we're going to start adding additional systems and models to take the pressure off the systems that we have in place. So with those additions and with the focus of that year, with those same people in place that we had in 2016, we grew from 182 closed transactions on the buy side to 223. So what that looked like was it was a very focused effort on keeping everyone in their strength zone. The following year, last year, I fully took a step out of production, and we ended up starting to add additional lead generation. So we're trying to focus on this building a team within a team. And so our director of lead generation was like, okay, well, I'll do this too. I'll build a team within a team. And I'm going to go ahead and add a nights and weekends ISA and an additional OSA so that we can capture more leads to have a bigger pipeline. Our numbers slipped a little bit from 2018 to 2017. However, the more impressive part of that is we were able to do that with the same people in place and with me taking a step out of production. So I tell you all of this to kind of guide you through our thought process behind leverage, the order that we went in, and why we didn't jump straight to the showing agent model. So when we looked at this, we looked at it in a systematic approach of we're constantly reevaluating what our top 20% activities are and narrowing that focus. When you narrow that focus, then you're able to get exponential results. So for today's promotional event, I thought we would talk about the showing agent model. This seems to be a topic that a lot of people are interested in right now. And so just wanted to kind of start off explaining my thoughts around it, what their responsibilities are, who it works for, those types of things. Just know that in the class, when we actually start June 3rd, we will build up to this point. So the levels of leverage that we're going to work through are going to baby step you from the point of being a buyer's agent and having mastery over being a buyer's agent to then adding help with lead generation to then eventually adding the showing agent model. So some people call it the showing agent model, some people call it the showing partner model. What I will tell you is that they are not a showing assistant. They are licensed agents and they are an expert in the field. So their primary responsibility is showing property to qualified buyers and getting them to the point of writing an offer. That's their 20%. Their 20% is being in production and making sure that they are getting people from the pipeline into an acceptable contract. So they are an expert in the field. They are working in direct partnership with the lead buyer specialist. They're trying to help the lead buyer specialist find the best possible property at the best possible price for the client. So the lead buyer specialist is responsible for the consult and those types of things. However, the showing agent is in the field making sure that we find the best possible property. So the showing agent, in my opinion, is a lead nurturer, not a lead generator. And here's the thought process behind that. I have built out a system that involves lead generation. The showing agent, their responsibility is 30-day buyers, making sure that they get them into the home that they eventually want to be in. I want them to show fewer properties and so that they're able to make better offers, more offers, and hit their eventual financial goal. So the showing agent, again, is an expert in the field. They are not an assistant. So they are not a door opener. They are so much more than that. So I've heard people refer to a showing agent as a Vanna White or those types of things, that they just go and they open the door and then the lead buyer specialist steps back in. Our showing agents are well trained. They're well versed in the market. They understand market value, and they understand what it's going to take to help a client win in a negotiation. So the showing agent is an extension of me in the field. They're going to know all of the same things that I know so that they can reinforce what I've said in the buyer consult. We talk really frequently on our team about being one company, one language. So when we talk about a buyer buying into the system our team provides, what we're not saying is they're not buying into me. They're not buying into me as the lead buyer specialist. They're buying into our team and our systems. And if we have a consistent message from the time that the appointment is set through the buyer consult and through the showings, it feels uniform. They don't feel that they are passed from one person to the other because we have a consistent, clear message. Your showing agent is an extension of you. So their training, it has to be your top priority. What happens is when you bring somebody in and you truly, truly want them to win, then every time you send them out and they have a success, that's a measure of your success. You get to see how great your training is based on the results your showing agent has. So when you decide that you want to win through others, the showing agent will become your top client. So who does the showing agent model work for? Well, it works for somebody that has mastered personal productivity habits. What I mean by that is it works for an agent that is in production and is doing a consistent number of units, a consistent volume of business. So somebody that has made their business a business. They're operating as a business person and not as a real estate agent. Someone that comes into this and can see the big picture, and that by bringing people in to work with them, not for them, that you can get further faster. It's also an agent who is committed to helping others succeed. It's very difficult to train people. It takes a lot of time, and there's a lot of time on task in an effort to get somebody up to the speed in which you're running. However, the faster you can do that and the more committed you are to their success, the more exponential your success will be. So, excuse me, if you don't have great admin leverage in place, here's what happens. Most people get to a point where they're tired of showing houses. They're overwhelmed. They want the easy button. They feel like if they can get out of showings, they will be happier or they will have more control over their schedule. And what happens is if you add a showing agent and you don't have great admin support in place, you will become the admin. So as you're adding people and as you're adding leverage, you still have to keep focused on what your 20% is. And at some point, your 20% will change. It evolves, if you will, over time. So your 20% your first year in business will be different than your 20% your 6th year in business or 10th year in business. You're constantly evolving it, watching it, and making sure that as you add leverage, you reinvest your time into additional dollar producing activities. So the showing agent model also works for an agent that is committed to mastery. As you lead and train others, you highlight your own habits, and that works for the good and the bad habits. As I'm training someone, I can see as they take ownership of the role, the good things that I have trained. I can see when a showing agent is only showing 2 to 3 houses per client before someone writes an offer. Those are good habits. That's great training that I've provided. However, if I hear potentially a language pattern or something negative in their speech context when they're maybe making the pass from themselves to the transaction coordinator or back to me, what happens is I can also see my negatives reflected in that. They're going to be trained to the best of your ability, and there has to be an emotional intelligence around what your training habits are. So you have to understand that when you see potentially some bad habits reflected, that you may need to adjust how you're handling the training and potentially how you are showing up each day. So who makes a great showing agent, right? We're ready to hire a showing agent. We've got great admin support in place. We've got all the leads we can handle. We're ready to make that next move and have some massive success. So you have to find someone that you actually really like. And I know that that sounds crazy, but you have to find someone that you want to spend more time with. Someone that as you leave the interview or you leave the conversation that you think, goodness, I would like to spend more time with that person. They were interesting, they were likable, they were funny. Because what happens is you're getting ready to leverage the relationship part of your business, and the clients that have liked you so far and so much, they also need to like this next person. Because if you're going to truly leverage the showing, you have to trust that they will do a better job with the client than you will. And at this point, you know, the showing agent really becomes your main client. You learn to win through them. So what that means is I'm going to take a little bit of a step back in the relationship part of my business. I'm no longer the buyer's agent that's getting invited to Thanksgiving dinners, or my kids are getting invited to their kids' birthday parties. What happens is those showing agents take on that part of the relationship. They're the fun part, they're the show part, and you have to learn to win through them. So as they're winning, those become your wins. It's no longer you finding the best house at the best price for the client. That becomes really the showing agent's role, and you're there in a way to guide them and lead them and create a vision for them, but your wins really come through them. So the characters that I look for in a showing agent is somebody that's coachable, somebody that's open, hungry, and a willingness to learn. So someone that will buy into your systems, someone that will look to you to establish the patterns that you've established and the habits that you've established. And then they have to have this high sense of urgency. That's very hard to train. You need someone that is wanting to move further faster and that will buy into your vision and then those systems and models. You also have to find someone that's willing to focus on the income opportunity rather than the commission splits. So up until this point, every showing agent that I have hired has been from outside of industry. The reason being, when I bring them into our world and I bring them in to get them to the point of helping clients and showing clients, what I want them to do is I want them to see the big picture and what they can make and what those opportunities are. I don't want them to be focused on what a traditional real estate split is. And what I've noticed is if I take someone from outside of industry, they're more open to seeing big picture versus being focused on the split per transaction. So why would you focus on the showing agent model? Why would this be something that you're interested in? Well, it gives you the principle of greatest leverage, this is on your screen, says that when your goal is mastery and success, you can leverage your time to yield the highest productivity if you can strategically focus on a few items. So it's basically that 20% rule that we're talking about. If I can focus on a very narrow focus, I'm going to have exponential growth. If I build a team of specialists, our team is going to have exponential growth. If I can keep lead generations focused on lead gen, showing agents focused on showing, admin focused on the systems and models, then we are going to get further together faster than each one of us would on our own. The model also allows you to create a giant system for productivity and efficiency. And then this big, massive buyer pipeline. When you've got this model and you've got people that are able to show and someone that's able to capture leads and fill that pipeline gets very, very big very, very quick. And what happens is now you're taking the seasonality out of your business. As you have a massive buyer pipeline, what happens is your July looks a lot like your January. You start taking the seasonality out of it, you start taking those peaks and valleys out of it, and guess what? Now you're running a business that you can plan for. You can have a profit and loss statement. You can make plans based on how much you can spend on vacation or education. You can hire other people to come into your world because now you have a well-established business. And it allows you to maximize your personal productivity and create success through others. So the program details, we actually launched June 3rd of this year. The length of the program is 5 weeks. We do the calls Monday morning at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. However, just so you guys know that if the time does not work for you, all of the calls are recorded and all of the workbooks are uploaded into the client portal so that you can access those at any time. The website, if you go to mapscoaching.com and you click on the group link, you will be able to find this class and sign up. Also, my email address is jendaviskw@gmail.com. So if there is anything that you need help with, you are more than welcome to email me directly, and we can get an email, a link sent out to you via email. I think that's all we've got for now. I don't see that there are any questions that are up. So I am so thankful to each one of you that you joined us for today. I hope that you join the class and that we have an opportunity to learn together. Again, if you guys have any questions, my email address is jendaviskw@gmail.com. Thanks so much and have a great weekend.